Hey everyone, today we're going to be talking about the NIV Grace and Truth Study Bible. This is a collaboration between Dr. Albert Mohler and Zondervan. Really excited about this. Been looking forward to this study Bible coming out for quite a while, and I have a copy of the Premier Collection edition as well as the hardback edition. So stay tuned to find out more about this awesome Bible. Hey, and welcome back. Before we get into talking about the Grace and Truth Study Bible and the Premier Collection features and all those things, I want to remind you that I'm giving away a Bible for every single video that I produce. And at some point in the video, I'll insert a question, and you'll just comment below answering that question or fulfilling that request, and you'll be entered in for the next giveaway for the next video. Now, I started this on my last video, and I have a winner, and I'll announce the winner's name at the end of this video. Let's jump right into this video and take a look at this Premier Collection edition as well as the hardcover edition. So here is the box for the Premier Collection edition of the NIV Grace and Truth Study Bible. It has the beautiful artwork on the front. It shows premium goatskin leather in navy. It's really exciting for all of those who are Southern Baptists. This is essentially kind of a Southern Baptist study Bible. So it's kind of exciting for me as a Baptist. As we flip it over, we can see kind of the insights for faithful living. It talks about Dr. Albert Mohler. And at the bottom, we have the features. Really quickly, it just shows the complete text of the NIV. This is a Albert Mohler study Bible, essentially a hand-bound in navy goatskin, Smith's own. It has a premium European Bible paper, and it has the 3 double-sided satin ribbons. It does have a generous yap, red art gilding, and it does have study notes at the bottom, and I'll show you those. You have your center column references, which I love that in a study Bible. A lot of times study Bibles don't have the center column references, or they try to do some kind of different layout to save on space. I love that it's a classic reference layout for the text. There is a lot of emphasis on this comprehensive NIV concordance as well, and here we see the retail on this edition. It's $280, which would make it the most expensive of all the Premier Collection editions. Now, here are 2 of the bindings. You have the least expensive binding, which is the hardcover edition. You can see my lights reflecting off the glare of this dust jacket. The same artwork that's on the Premier Collection box is featured here on the cover of this dust jacket. The hardcover edition is also Smith's sewn and comes with 1 ribbon, but it does have the white squared page edges. Now, before we dive into the content and layout of this study Bible, I want to talk about this Premier Collection binding. So this is the navy goatskin, and it's the only Premier Collection option, but it's really a nice goatskin. This is far better than any of the other black goatskins. It's very close to that brown, really grainy goatskin. It has a great feel to it. The spine, I believe, is a missed opportunity here for branding. 5 raised ribs on the spine. And it also has the really, really subtly stamped New International Version in Zondervan and just a simple Holy Bible on the spine. I really think we could have had the Grace and Truth insignia here as well. Some type of artwork on the spine of this edition just to set it apart. It does have perimeter stitching as well, and the thread is a navy color, so it kind of matches this goatskin really well. When we open this edition up, the subtlety kind of goes away. So you have this really starkly cardinal red looking liner. It really does have this really premium feel. Shows goatskin leather cover imprinted on the inside of the liner, and you can see this interior gilt line around the edge of the perimeter. It has a very generous yap. This is the most yap I've seen on a Premier Collection edition so far. This Bible's fairly thick. It's almost 2 inches thick, and the yap almost come together to meet, so it's a significant yap on this edition. We also can see this is an edge-line construction with red end sheets that match the red of the liner, so it really, really goes well together. There is a subtle red under gold art gilt. Now, it's very subtle. I'd love it if this were a little more pronounced. You have some navy head and tail bands with 3 double-sided satin ribbons, and they're using a navy, a silver, and a red color. So I'm not really sure how much I like the silver and gold going together when you already have a gold gilt line. Gold here, I almost would have rather seen the gold center ribbon rather than the silver. It doesn't look bad. It just looks like it was a little bit of a missed opportunity. Now, one thing I know I'm going to get questions about is that this is a two-piece liner. Now you can see there when I roll this back, you can see that split in the liner, and that's the same on the bottom as it is up here on the top of the block. This is actually the same way all of the other Premier Collection editions have been produced. And until now, I never really noticed it because all of the liners had been darker and you never had as much yap. So you never had as much open liner to see. And the liner was never this stark red color where it just stood out at you. Now, it's not going to cause any problems with the integrity of the binding, but it just doesn't look good. They would need to go with a darker color liner to where you could not really see this, or they'll need to seal this up a little bit better. Join those two pieces of leather together a little bit better where you can't pull them like this and see that separation. Just to show you, this is the same in all the Premier Collection editions. This is the side column reference NIV edition, and it's one of my favorites. And it doesn't have as much yap. So if you look really carefully, you can see that this is also a split liner as well, but you don't notice it because it doesn't have as much yap and the liner is a much darker color. So that's why I'm saying they're all like this, and it doesn't really demean their value any. It's actually a smart way to do business. It saves on leather, where you can get the most out of your leather hide by using two smaller portions instead of one large portion. It's just something I wanted to point out because there's so much more yap, and with that red liner, it just stands out. It really, really stands out, and it's hard to miss. And I just want to explain, when you guys get your Bibles, that it's going to have a split liner, but it's no different than any other Premier Collection edition. Let's jump into this edition and talk about the text layout and the notes really quickly and some of the features. You have a title page, and then it goes directly to the publication page. It's made in China. This is a 2021 production. You have your quick start guide, which talks about the book introductions, cross-references, study notes, concordance, and maps. Those are the 5 big cornerstones of this study system that is in the Grace and Truth Study Bible. You have the Grace and Truth Study Bible introduction that is written by Dr. Mohler. You have the acknowledgments, and then you have your list of contributors. The preface for the NIV from the Committee on Bible Translation. Then we come to the Old Testament and the first introduction for the book of Genesis. These book introductions are all about context and perspective. Now, the text is one of my favorite. It's a 9-point font, double column, paragraph format with center column references, and you have your textual notes at the bottom. Now, the text also has this golden color highlights throughout the text, and I think that is a little bit of a miss because I wish it were a darker color. Now, you can read the gold really well in the section headings and for your chapter numbers, but when we get into the reference area, it really needs to stand out a little bit better to find your verse, because all the verse numbers are in that same gold color. So over here where there are references, and in this center column where there are references, sometimes they're a little hard to find because of that really light color. All right, so I've been asked by several people about what I think of the notes. All right, so the notes are kind of different, actually. The notes are kind of done section by section. And what I mean by that is there'll be a grouping of verses. The notes will explain that grouping of verses. Then it'll move on to the next grouping of verses. So there's not as much application. There's not as much definition for individual specific verses. So that might be kind of different if you're used to your traditional study Bible. Here I want to show you a comparison of the note sections. Both of these are from Zondervan. The top Bible is the NIV Study Bible Fully Revised Edition, one of my favorites. And the one underneath is the one we've been talking about, the Grace and Truth Study Bible from Dr. Albert Mohler. So here in Ezekiel, you can see the Grace and Truth addresses chapter 7, verses 1 through 4, then verses 5 through 9, then verses 10 through 27, and then it moves on to chapter 8. So those groupings are pulled together. So you can see it's very different in the NIV Study Bible, where we have an explanation for chapter 7, verse 12. You have an explanation for chapter 7, verse 15, verse 16, verse 17, verse 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, 24, individually. So all those are kind of condensed into one explanatory paragraph in the notes for the Grace and Truth Study Bible. Now, some people might like that better. Some people might find that is a little harder to find the notes you're looking for, because the NIV Study Bible will split them apart into different verses instead of having them just grouped in sections. And you have more notes in the NIV Study Bible. Here you can see chapter 8 versus chapter 11. It kind of gives you a little overview of that whole section of Ezekiel. And then it goes to chapter 8 verses 1 through 8, and then chapter 8 verse 1. So even it has 3 separate notes for chapter 8 verse 1, so, and then it goes to chapter 8 verse 2, chapter 8 verse 3, where we only get chapter 8 verse 1, and it kind of gives chapters 8 through 11. It kind of condenses everything down into one paragraph. And then chapter 8 verses 2 through 6, so it condenses everything down again. So the notes are not going to be quite as specific or as plentiful as you would find in other study Bibles like the NIV Study Bible or the ESV Study Bible, or one of those. It kind of simplifies the notes section. It makes it a little less intimidating when we're talking about studying through notes. All right, now one thing that I noticed when I was going through this Bible is there was a lot of emphasis put on the concordance and the use of the concordance. So let's take a look at that. So at the end of the text, you get to the table of weights and measures, and then you have your concordance. And look how large this print is for the concordance. Now I want to show a comparison of concordances again. On top is the NIV Study Bible, Fully Revised Edition, and on bottom is the Grace and Truth Study Bible. So you can see it's much smaller print. It's 3 columns, much smaller print than the double column, much larger print in the Grace and Truth Study Bible. Now I like this triple column layout in the NIV Study Bible, but if you're using the concordance a lot, it's much, much, much better to have this larger font, so it's just more enjoyable to use. Now the concordance, because it's a double column, much larger font, it takes up a huge chunk of this edition. I mean, it's a big chunk. All concordance, big time. So obviously it's super important to how this Bible is used is to be intentful in using the concordance. Now the maps I do not like. They are on glossy cardstock. They're the same maps that we're used to seeing. They're not easy to write on without it smearing. I really would love for these to be done in Bible paper or in some matte cardstock. It is nice to have this beautiful leather in this beautiful color. And lastly, I'll show you the hand test. It's pretty floppy. I mean, but it feels good though. So that is it for the review of the Grace and Truth Study Bible. If you have questions, leave them in the comment section below. And now for the giveaway question. What do you think of this Grace and Truth Study Bible? From the reviews you've seen prior to it coming out, would you buy it? And if you would, why? If you wouldn't, why? So the winner of the giveaway for last video was Javi Cortez. Congratulations, Javi. I asked what was your dream rebind, and a lot of people answered, had a lot of comments. So Javi, get in touch with me and get me your address and whatnot, and I'll get you a Bible straight away. Now, if you got something out of this video, if you would do me a favor and leave a like, and if you haven't considered subscribing, please do so, and subscribe and click that notification bell so you can be notified when I upload new videos. And as always, thank you for watching. Take care and God bless.